I feel like I'm almost, I mean, I can't say I'm certain because I'm not, but boy, I sure feel like saying, and I'm going to, that I feel almost certain that this year is not going to let us down on some interesting surprises. What we like to call black swan. Cyber attack, this attack, North Korea attack, banks collapsing, bank run, mortgage problems over at that one. I mean, it is all unfolding at breakneck speed. I'm telling you right now, I cannot believe how fast all this is happening with all these new articles that I'm finding. Oh, this just happened today. That's happening yesterday. Bank run on this bank. Well, guess what? This is for our friends over in Spain, the Spaniards. Speaking of a Spaniard, I'm going to give you a movie line, one of my favorites. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Just go ahead and write that one down. You know, I know some of you know that one. Write that down in the comment box just for fun. Another bank hit by a run on deposits. This time, Spanish bank Banco Popular denies it's looking for rushed takeover to avert collapse. Come on. That's not going to happen. And as soon as the cameras are off, oh my God, that's absolutely happening. Where are we at? Where are we at, guys? We need emergency funding. We need a bailout of epic proportions. Again, this is all about confidence. Confidence in the system, confidence in banking and finance, and especially confidence in government. And as the Webbot has said, as well as Martin Armstrong, this year, next year, the end of confidence in government is one of his cycles. This is from Wolf Street, Don Quajones. Or is that Quajones? Excuse me. Spain's sixth largest bank. We have liquidity until the end of the year. That's funny because didn't JP Morgan just come out and warn? End of the year is going to be liquidity problems for bank. I just did that video for all the banks. In the world of banking, confidence and trust are a precious currency. Confidence, funny enough, and trust are a precious currency. The moment a bank loses them, things tend to spiral down quickly. Spain's sixth largest or biggest bank, whatever, and desperately troubled bank, Banco Popular, appears to be well along the process of losing the confidence of its customers, and with it, their deposits. Last year, the bank lost 6.5% of its deposit base, but now, according to a report by the financial daily El Confidencial, the deposit outflow is swelling from a trickle into a deluge. The bank responded by making its deposits more attractive. Its deposit rates now range between 0.75% and 4%, with the Euribor at 0%. Offering such enticing rates will obliterate Popular's wafer-thin margins. In other words, we're going to give better rates. Just bring your money back, or new people, bring us some money, please. We're going to give you some decent rates of return now. You think I'd put my money in the bank? You're watching a sinking ship, clearly sinking, telling you, everybody come on board. We're going to give you a better discount than we used to charge to take you across this fantastic sea journey. We're going to give you a fantastic ride. Come along and ride on a fantastic voyage, except on a sinking ship. But we'll give you a better rate. Excuse me, you can give me the best rate in the world. Matter of fact, you can make it free. I'm not getting on the ship. You're sinking. What are you, some kind of idiot? Right? But that's what they're doing. We're going to give you a better rate than you've ever thought possible from a bank these days. Bring the money back. No, we're fine. We're liquid. Don't worry about it. Yet the outflow only accelerated. With that offer, the outflow only accelerated. Last week, when the bank reported a quarterly loss of $139 million, it disclosed that deposits had dropped an additional 5% to $78.8 billion in the January to March period. But then came a fresh bombshell yesterday afternoon. El Confidencial reported that the outflow of deposits by private and institutional depositors has reached such proportions that the bank was on the verge of default. Its senior management had contacted the CEOs of Spain's 5 biggest banks, Santander, BBVA, CaixaBank, Bank de Sabadell, and majorly publicly owned Bankia, to discuss the urgent need for a quick-fire takeover. The report stated that Popular's new chairman, Emilio Saracho, a former vice president of J.P. Morgan Chase, had hired J.P. Morgan, Lazard, and Societe Generale to find a buyer. The bank's shares plunged 6.6% on Thursday and another 5% on Friday, down to 75 cents. Popular issued an immediate denial that it was on the verge of default. Its strategy has not changed, and it is still exploring a series of options, including a possible capital increase, it claimed. Today, a number of other Spanish media outlets have confirmed certain aspects of El Confidencial's assertions. Saracho has indeed been in talks with Spain's biggest banks regarding a possible takeover, and has also hired investment banks, including J.P. Morgan, to oversee the process, and that it was urgent, but not quite as urgent as El Confidencial's article seemed to suggest. Okay? El Confidencial reported the denial this way. The urgency to get the sale done by June was due to the fact that the bank only has liquidity until December 31st. Well, that sounds kind of urgent if you ask Jason at 4. I'll be quite honest with you. Saracho told, and that probably made more people leave the bank, take their deposits with them, which means that the summer deadline is probably going to cut down to November, October. Next thing you know, it's a week or two from now, and then, Saracho told El Confidencial that the bank's situation was urgent, but he wanted to point out that the deposits of private and business depositors are not in danger. In any case, you're fine. We have liquidity until the end of the year. Is this urgent? Well, yes, because we have to take action quickly. We've known that for months. El País, in reporting the denial, added this, citing market sources. Saracho has said he is calculating how much capital he needs to cover Popular's provisions, but time continues to drag on and the messages he conveys to the market are far from clear. Saracho has been president since January. Now hold on. That brings up a point that Jason at 4 has to talk about pretty frequently these days, actually. It's been a while, though, but, And I'm telling you about these Italian banks, but they're not the only ones. But most recently they were. And I said, it's funny. Didn't they just have a whole new upper management, new CEO, and all that crap come in? And then within a few months, thanks, guys. It was fun, but we're out of here. Remember that? Remember me telling you that? This is a prime example. Here we go. New president. He's been in president since January. He's been in there 5 months. Why did the last president leave? Because he saw the writing on the wall and wanted to take his golden parachute, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. I'm out. Give it to somebody else who's going to come and making a good salary. This CEO is going to make some good money. And for good reason this time. You get to deal with this problem. The bank is sinking. It's a sinking ship. It's done. Have a nice day. Kind of like what was just handed to President Trump. This is a sinking ship you just inherited. Have a nice day. I'm out. I'm going to go make $400,000, Obama, at a Wall Street conference. And then I'm going to go make $2.5 million talking about climate change with my jets and 14-car entourage and everything else. Climate change, carbons. We need to cut down on carbon with my massive entourage. Gotcha, Barack. So Saracho, I was about to say, doesn't he have a famous sauce? That's Sriracha sauce. Sorry about that. That's not him. Sriracho. Then again, you know how in Spanish, like the O is the man and the A is the woman? Like Sriracha means female, Sriracho means male. Maybe it's his wife. She makes a great hot sauce. Sriracho has been president since January, but says he needs until the summer to work out the numbers. It's too long for an entity that's in the eye of the hurricane. End quote. The sources also find it contradictory that the president is holding talks with competitors if he does not know the true size of the hole in the bank's balance sheet. That's because he does know the size of the hole, and it's absolutely frightening. It'd be like kind of like staring at a black hole in the galaxy as you get closer. That's about how all the bank's balance sheets look, in case you're wondering. For its part, Spain's Ministry of the Economy has tried to soothe depositors' nerves by assuring them that the Spanish financial system is credible and will not be affected by whatever's happening to Banco Popular. Now, I got to be honest with you. If I am any Ministry of the Economy for any country, I don't know that I'm going to use the word credible to describe something, a bank or any part of the financial system as credible. That's not normally something you have to give that title to. Credible. Maybe it's solvent. Maybe solvent would work. It's totally solvent. They've got liquidity. It's good. But credible. Why are you coming out and saying that it's credible? That's not a good description for a bank. Because if the opposite's true, that's why you're coming out to say it's credible. In other words, this is not a credible bank. So you're coming out and use the word credible. That's very interesting. But neither the bank's customers nor its investors have much confidence left in what the bank's management say or do, having already been deceived on a number of occasions. In April of last year, then CEO Francisco, like on Elf. Ooh, Francisco, that's fun to say, Francisco. Gomez breezily reported that the bank had a very comfortable core capital level above the regulatory minimum and one of the best leverage ratios in the sector. What? So let's think about that. April of last year was precisely a year ago. April, May, we're in May, just barely into May. Exactly a year ago. That's not a long time is what I'm saying at all. Former CEO, the guy I told you, he's now probably left with his golden parachute because this new guy took over in January. Just last year, he said, breezily reported, that the bank had a very comfortable, not just comfortable, not okay, very comfortable core capital level above the regulatory minimum, as a matter of fact. And one of the best leverage ratios in the sector. But I'm going to be retiring in a few months, quitting, and a new CEO is going to take place. Now, he didn't say that, of course. Shares soared back then. Shares soared. Market rallied on the news. A month later, Popular announced it was urgently seeking to raise $2.5 billion in capital in order to shore up its finances. The shares then crumbled by over 30% in just 3 days. Then in April this year, an internal audit by PwC revealed that the $3.5 billion loss Popular registered in 2016, its biggest annual loss ever, by the way, had been understated. And it was actually some $600 million larger, which would put it at $4.1 billion. Some investors are now suing the bank in the U.S. for being intentionally misled. Shouldn't you be suing the former CEO? He's the one that came out and said it. He flat out told you, lied right to your face. By now, Banco Popular's true value is almost certainly in negative territory. Its balance sheet still burdened with over $30 billion, or is that euros, of, get ready for this, tell me if you heard this term. I'll punch you in the face if you're a Jason 4 subscriber and this doesn't sound like you've ever heard this before. The balance sheet is still burdened with over 30 billion euros of toxic real estate related assets that nobody wants to touch. If there is a prospective buyer out there, it won't want the bad stuff. It will just want the good stuff. That's why we have a Federal Reserve over here, Spain. Our Federal Reserve takes the complete most garbagey assets off the bank's balance sheets, gives them 100%, 100 cents on the dollar for this crap that's worth pennies. And then it buys them and owns them. One of the ways this could happen is if Popular's balance sheet is given a thorough spring cleaning, paid for, of course, with government funds, which also means what? Taxpayer funds. It's always Again, heads they win, tails you lose. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody's in trouble. The former president, CEO of the bank, didn't hear anything in here about him getting arrested for making such an outrageous claim, lying flat out to people, investors, etc. What was it, a month later, or 2 or 3 months later, whatever the hell it said? What was that? A month later, yeah. A month later, after he gave this awesome speech, it announced it was urgently seeking to raise $2.5 billion in order to shore up its finances, and the shares crumbled over 30% in 3 days. And then April of this year, so just last month, an internal audit revealed $3.5 billion loss that they registered in 2016 is actually a bit larger. It's $4.1 billion, not 3.5, right? It took an internal audit to find that out. It's a sad demise for an institution that for years had been conservatively run with focus on lending to small businesses, but that all changed in 2004 when new management, led by the recently deposed chairman, Angel Ron, pushed Popular into risky real estate investments just before Spain's property bubble burst. Sound familiar? They then took way too long to clean up afterwards, and it's still not cleaned up. Popular's managers have since walked away with millions of dollars in their back pockets, including a $24 million pension payout for Mr. Ron. He has even threatened to sue the bank over his lack of severance pay, by the way. Meanwhile, the multi-billion euro mess he and his cohorts left behind will eventually be cleaned up by Spain's long-suffering taxpayers. And there's a new remedy in Spain. Taxpayer-funded subsidies to benefit banks, real estate agencies, construction companies, PE firms, and landlords. As I think I read to you the other day, he had an article titled Spain's Government Presses Property Bubble Rewind Button. Remember that one? So we got Spain, we've got Italy, we've got the United States, we've got Canada, we've got Australia. Again, this is systemic. It is completely system-wide across the world. And the moron people, it's time to flip houses. It's time to get into that. It's time to get into that, baby. Yes, we're going to make a fortune. Don't you hear all the commercials? Yeah, that should be your warning sign. Hey, idiot, come over here. And you being smart saying, I'm no idiot. I'm awake, and you're not going to do that to me again. Screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me. And boy, the fleecing just continues over and over again. It's amazing. Take care.